On today's episode of The Zoo, we're going to be talking about UFOs, plus we got some great music interviews with artists like Sie7e and DJ Paul, so keep it locked. Welcome to The Zoo. I got Andres Palencia and Anakaren Lopez here, AP and AKL. I'm throwing your last initial. All right, listen, we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart today, UFOs. That's today's big deal. I mean, these are crazy times. Like, not only is 2020 insane in every other possible way, the fact that the government is basically admitting, okay, so just to give you a little bit of background context, over the past couple of years, the Pentagon has been releasing previously classified footage that they have taken of unidentified flying objects. But recently, this month, the Pentagon started using terms like off-world vehicles. They're saying that this might be an off-world vehicle. They are literally admitting that not only is this something that they can't identify, or it's not some, crazy secret, spy plane they've created and the public just doesn't know about it. No, they're admitting that these might be actual alien starships.
I think the off-world part is the coolest part.
Yeah.
Even though my one pet peeve is, like, we've been talking about this for like 800 years, UFOs. And now they have to keep looking at it. Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Yes, they
Come on,
changed
guys,
the name.
guys.
They changed the name.
But
There's an unidentified aerial phenomenon task force to help them, which is like housed within the Navy to help them identify.
Wow.
What these things are, because Marco Rubio of all people was like, he's like, people are seeing this, what is it, like the military, the Navy, they're seeing this stuff. And they're not reporting it.
Right.
So I think it's important to be like, if you see something, you gotta write it down, even if it's, and they're like, there's a stigma, and then I'm like, I thought you held a gun. I thought, like, why is it you blow stuff up? Yeah. What is stigma?
Right.
Just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, the believing in aliens thing, I think it used to be, brushed off as, a wacky theory, but it's...
Or Hollywood,
yeah. But I mean, do you believe in UFOs? Do you believe that there's, life on other planets? That not only is there life on other planets, because I think at this point it's reasonable to believe that it's such a vast universe, there has to be somewhere.
Why rule out the possibility?
But that they're visiting us. Do you believe that life on other planets are visiting us?
Well, there's conspiracies out there, and I think one of the first conspiracies I heard about was like the empires that they built, the pyramids. How is it that?
Oh, like the ancient alien theory.
Yeah, the ancient alien theories. So that's when I started. I looked into it a little bit, but I was just like, that is interesting. How are things that were built so how are they so advanced but built so in the past ancient civilization? But I do believe in it personally. Right. I think it's interesting that you brought that up because I was on Twitter. This was in April, right? And it was releasing all these classified documents and stuff. And it was when the whole Epstein thing, it's just a lot of information was being released.
You were going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it was with the guy too. What's his that they hacked? Anonymous.
Right.
Yeah, so that they were releasing a lot of things. So I was just like, oh, is this one more thing? But then you saw 3 videos that they decided to disclose to. Right. But then it was like, oh, we had a task force and it no longer exists, and this is the only thing that we found.
They did,
so they were like, we covered the box by telling them that we found it, but that was it. And then they made a new task force. So you're like, there's something.
In the 60s, they made one to look it up, and then 2 years in, they're like, guys, it's not worth.
Well, you're talking about Project Blue Book.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Something.
Well, there is a.
We're so deep in the rabbit hole. Humberto and I are like, what are they going to find first? Is it going to be the reptiles from planet Nibiru? Yeah. Is it going to be is it actually? It's not aliens. They're here. They live in the core of the Earth because
here's a theory. And this was somebody from the government actually started saying this.
What's your theory? Yeah, what's your theory?
I don't have a personal theory. I do believe that there's a thing called the Drake equation, or God, I wish I would have memorized some of these names, but it's when you do the math about how many stars have planets in the habitable zone in the universe. It would be almost impossible that there isn't some sort of life. Now that we understand how life forms and the chemical reactions and organic compounds and all that other stuff, and we're always finding these new planets now with our new telescopes. But it's rather aliens are able to visit us because the nearest star is 4.5 light years away.
Right.
Alpha Centauri, it takes 4.5 years for the light to travel. So it would take tens of thousands of years for even the fastest spaceship to travel.
I think it's 100,000.
Something like that. Or maybe 40,000 if you had a really, fast thing to get to that star system. So how are they getting here? But now physics is starting to understand that no, you can actually warp space and time, and there's wormholes and all these kind of things that used to be the stuff of sci-fi are actually physically possible in theory.
Right.
But the other theory that people are having is that these aren't alien lives coming from other planets. They're actually alien life forms that are from this area of the galaxy, but are from different dimensions. So they're actually visiting us from different dimensions. So they're here already, but we just can't sense them because they don't exist.
I wonder if we'll break into like interdimensional travel, but first it'll be really like we'll just go somewhere. We'll be like, well, we shouldn't have sent people there. It's like, you know, it's like the mothball planet, and then you can't.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do have a conspiracy. I'm sorry.
Theory. You have to add theory to it.
Okay, sure. Well,
Because if you say I have a conspiracy, the FBI is going to come here and like take us all.
right. Don't find me on Twitter. But I'm just like, why is it that they're releasing? Right? They're finally choosing to disclose the
Yeah.
footage.
Why do you think that?
Here's
That's
what I
interesting.
think. I think there's no better time. They already told us. They're like, guys, someone coughs, everybody's dead.
Right.
And
Right.
the entire world was like, okay, so we play video games or what? And then some people were like, it's not true, or whatever. But everyone as a whole, like, we didn't burn the world down.
Right.
I feel like whatever in March, the like global impact of telling people like everything you do in your life, everyone on planet Earth, we have to do differently. Whether or not it's been successful or to what degree people did it, we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're on the same page. There's people who so like Little Green Man, I'm worried that some of them are like, oh, they can handle it.
Right.
So they're like, now we can just pick a couple of them up. But I'm like, if there's anything that tells us there's like a greater good kind of consciousness for us, for people on Earth, I think it's our response to
Oh,
COVID.
like
Totally.
perspective, or
Because
like
we can handle we can handle it. There's people who say yes and no, people who don't grasp it. It's fear, it's normal, it's life, but
I want to say though, it's going to be used to better fund militarization.
Well, okay, so this is another conspiracy theory that people say is that, they're waiting for, the government is really gonna like take over when they're like, hey, we're getting attacked by aliens, so martial law.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But
So
they
like,
had
I
the
can see
chance,
it.
though. I think they had the chance.
Yeah.
The chance was, hey, everybody's going to get cold and die, and then they
Right.
would take over the...
Well, maybe they're taking it to the next level now and be like, oh, that wasn't enough for you
Yeah,
guys. Well,
they're-
the UFOs are attacking us, and so now we're definitely taking
But
over.
Mental
I think
manipulation.
it's just that thing of if aliens can get here, if they have the technology to be here, to get here, to time
They would be
travel,
more advanced than
then,
us,
yeah,
for
then
sure.
then it's game over. Like there is nothing we can
But
do.
maybe they're not here to do it because a lot of people are like, well, if they're more advanced than us, then obviously they're going to take us over. No, because maybe they're
Observe.
also more advanced and consciously. Maybe they're also more advanced. That's the kind of conversation we have on the zoo. You do your own research. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about something slightly related, which is being into Spanish language music, but growing up in the United States as American Latinos. Keep it locked. We're talking here on the zoo. We are back on the zoo, and before we actually get to, because she did, Anakaren did amazing with a bunch of music interviews that we're going to feature today. But before we get to, talking about like Spanish language music and getting into it, just finish off with the conspiracy theories because you have some
well, yeah,
out there ones involving the moon.
I was raised on that moment of curiosity on Coast to Coast.
Right.
So it was like
David Norrie.
Yeah, so it's like one night it's astral projection and time travel. Another night and they'll have experts. There's the Lears.
Yeah.
There's like the Learjet guy, and then there's the other guy. One time they had both of them on. One time they had two guests, and one of them was like, the moon is definitely fake. It's like he's like there's it has an engine that powers it in the core in the center.
Oh,
That's
wow.
made to hover the Earth as a satellite.
And there's Hollow Earth
Yeah.
theory.
And then the other guy was like, "You're insane. The engine to the moon is on the back." of
That's
the
hilarious.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite conspiracy
I love
theories that we actually had on the show once is Eddie Bravo, who's a very famous jiu-jitsu guy, and he's known, in the Joe Rogan circles for being on his podcast. He's also the trainer for Tony Ferguson and a few other UFC fighters. But you watch his Instagram, he's into all these conspiracies, but he bit the bullet because on our show, and it has a lot of views on YouTube, he admitted to believing in the flat earth theory, and that's the one that drives me crazy because it's like, that's the point where you just don't believe anything that anybody says.
But I think it's like, as a hobby, like talk about it, joke about
Yeah.
it. But can we please like acknowledge that?
Right.
There's a lot of people who work very hard,
Yeah.
and who are like authorities who are finding out really, really, really cool stuff, like the Drake equation,
Yeah.
who are finding out really cool actual stuff that is exciting. And then it's all right to go a little.
But the flat earth is
little
just,
bit in the-
it's kooky. What's the kookiest thing that you've
Yeah.
looked at on the internet?
I think, well,
Because
actually,
you're going down the rabbit hole.
I feel like there was someone in Congress that said, and the earth is flat in one of their speeches recently.
What do you think of someone that thinks the earth is flat? Do you feel that they just...
I would
they-
expect
they-
to see him in Congress. To be honest.
No, that's what saying. And you were just like, okay, I mean,
This is why everybody has to vote. Or maybe everybody, maybe not, I don't know. It's kooky.
just pay attention in science class. Listen to the facts.
Here's a class that I didn't pay attention to a lot in school.
Okay.
I grew up bilingually. My parents spoke in Spanish, and my dad listened to a lot of Cuban and Mexican music, and cantinflas
Dope.
played and all that stuff in my house. But I always figured that like Spanish language content, music, shows, movies was my dad's stuff. I was born and raised in America, in Miami, so I'll listen. I love Latino artists, but Cypress for me, Cypress Hill, and yeah, maybe bilingual, but English dominant is the way I Then I started getting more into like my heritage, Cuban music, and coming out here to LA and having a lot of Mexican friends, a lot of like folkloric Mexican music and all that stuff. You interviewed a lot of artists that we're going to be talking to later that do a
Yes.
lot of Spanish language music.
Yes.
Did you grow up listening to music in both English and Spanish, or was it for you like, oh, that's my parents' music?
No, actually, I mean, it's a problem with the school system where they say like students of color need to acclimate, and so you think you need to change. So I was actually really embarrassed to listen. My dad actually, saludos Grupo Dragon.
Saludos, he was in a band?
He's a drummer, and he used to play like 2 drums at the same time, dude, like in the 90s. And like he even said he played on the same stage as Selena. So like this was his age, okay, super dope. But it was norteño, banda, all that kind of stuff. And I honestly used to shy away. Like every time it would play, like your mom picks you up, I would like turn it down and stuff. I was kind of ashamed. I'm not gonna lie.
I hope the Bad Bunny, J Balvin, like I heard Aleman, this rapper, and he had a little bit of norteño, like
they're picking it up, yeah.
But I'm like, I hope the last generation of like, across the board, but at least for Latinos, the last generation of like being ashamed of what art you enjoy
Right.
is like, even because there's kids who grew up and it was like the Spice Girls made you happy, and you're embarrassed to like that because you have to like, so you know what I mean? Like I hope.
Or just any genre.
But
right.
now these, I hope the kids they're like, there's so much culture. There's a dude. It seems like more of a individualist movement, even though in pop culture everything gets watered down and formalized. But I hope it doesn't happen, because I find out now of like 90s artists. I found out like not too long ago. I was like, holy patootie. I was like, holy cow, this Selena was the real deal.
Right.
She died and a whole genre ended.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there would have been a genre of like Tex-Mex music, and this was the one carrier of it on an like inconceivable crossover level, and she died and it was over.
Yes.
Just getting chills right
I
now.
mean, for me, these are a couple of moments that I had to really kind of like come back to my culture and enjoy singing Spanish language. One, it didn't involve Latin artists at all. It was Sublime, who for the first 3 albums, their only 3 albums, they always had one song that they sang in Spanish.
The most underrated like bilingual moment in the 90s, Sublime. Oh my goodness.
Mucho gusto, me llamo Umbi. I used to have that. And then you know what the second one was is when I was in college, and my friends would go to every year they have a thing called Calle Ocho where Cubans have their thing.
That's dope.
And I got to see Celia Cruz live.
Oh my God.
About a year before she died. Wow. And I realized how amazing, Afro-Latino, specifically Afro-Cuban music is.
The power.
And totally. And I saw how, the percussion, I saw how special it was, and it really moved me. And then I started discovering a lot of old Cuban artists and stuff like that. But I think that kind of like you growing up, not that I grew up in Miami, so there was a lot of Latinos, so I didn't have to shy away from being Latino or Cuban, but I felt more American than my parents. So when my dad was blasting, his salsa, his rumba, I was like, that's not me. I'm rock and roll, I'm rap.
Right,
I remember listening to Latin artists and being like that little, like colonized piece of your brain that goes, well, if they would just drop the maracas for one song by now, like you would sound so cool, and it would. And I'm
But
like,
now we see a lot of
we gotta
fusion, though.
decolonize the mind.
Now we see a lot of fusion where, you decolonize the mind is a good way. And then let the aliens colonize
Right.
it. But look, to me right now, fusion is everything. What I love about Bad Bunny is that he takes true bass and hip hop and he's adding elements of, tropical, Latino, Spanish language stuff going on, bachata and stuff like that. And so when you can fuse it, it's something that you can kind of approach from all ends. And, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to start watching some of the interviews that you've done.
Right, teaching us how to decolonize the mind.
We're going to decolonize the mind right here on the Zoo. Keep it locked. We are back on the Zoo. I'm wearing my special hat. I'm with AK and AP. And coming up, we got a good interview with an artist that we actually had on the Zoo last year. I think he's an amazing. Talk about fusion. Spanish language lyrics for the most part, but we're talking about reggae, tropical jams, something that you can play in any beach setting, that's for sure. His name is Sie7e.
Sie7e,
And I love the way he spells his name.
Yes.
How do you spell it?
It's Sie, and then instead of the T, it's a number 7, and then E. So he actually talks about where he got his name from in the interview, and y'all will probably get excited, but he talks about psychedelic reggae.
Ooh,
what does
you know
that
who's
look
getting
like?
excited is
Right,
this guy.
what
I actually asked him about that. He's talked about doing all that stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. So he recently released his album, but he's just like a very conscious person that talks about just like the environmentalism, self-awareness, and he brings it all into this fusion of psychedelic reggae.
Awesome. Let's see. Check it out.
Today we are here with Sie7e, Puerto Rican 2011 Latin Grammy Award winner for Best New Artist. How are you?
I'm grateful. I'm alive. The rest is just negotiable, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I already see the background that you have, and I feel like I love what you have going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're improvising. I had to do a whole bunch of, interviews and lives and all that stuff. So we figured let's do like a little, tropical set. We're very close to the beach, so.
Okay. Do you find yourself in Puerto Rico right now?
Yeah, I'm in Dorado, Puerto Rico right now.
Oh, okay. Shout out to Puerto Rico.
Gracias.
So let's start with your name, Sie7e. What does it mean, and how did you come up with it?
Well, I was born on July, which is the 7th month of 1977. So a lot of sevens in the equation, and it's my favorite number. It's been my favorite number for a long time. And at the moment, my name is David Rodriguez, right? So it was like, it's a very common name, and we thought, well, let's think of something different. And at the moment, we thought it was a great idea. let's use Sie7e, the number, like the name. Yeah, let's use Sie7e. People thought it was a band at first, which it was kind of, and I've always loved to work in bands, so that was okay. But then people didn't know how to write it because I wanted to just get all creative about it and use the number 7 instead of the letter T. And it was, it was a good idea at the moment, but then we kind of regretted it. But then it was too late. There's that name. A Grammy has that name on it, so we have to kind of stick to it now. But I admit that for a long time I was like, I'm gonna change the name. Now for the new album, I was this close to doing it, but my team convinced me not to do it.
So we'll still know you as Sie7e forevermore.
Yeah, Sie7e, and I don't mind. It's not that I don't like it, but it proved to be what I thought was creative. It just was impractical. But yeah, call me Sie7e, call me David.
Awesome. And so, Sie7e, how would you describe your music?
Right now, because it's been changing, right? But right now, my music, I'd say it's we're calling it it's reggae. It's reggae, but we're adding the word psychedelic to it because it's definitely that kind of reggae that kind of invites you to look inside, let's say.
So that's what I wanted to get into, the term psychedelic reggae, right?
Okay.
So can you explain that a little bit further?
Well, yeah, this my life is before and after this album, right? And it's the songs were honest, totally, completely, painfully honest, vulnerable, and we wanted the album to be the same way. We wanted it to be these songs that came out for this album are putting together this conversation that is making you meditate, or inviting you to meditate, to look inside. And we're also talking about the music industry, and we're talking about love, of course, and we're talking about sex looked at from a spiritual way, I'd say. And it also talks about our relationship with Mother Earth, and how we are part of the problem and we don't know it and we don't realize it, right? And how we should really ask ourselves the right questions, especially now, right? And it's an invitation to all those things. And reggae, I think, is already a psychedelic genre per se, because it does alter your mind state, I think, because it does make your brain work differently, because the rhythm is somewhere else, because the silences are very specific in a specific place. It's a genre that already messes with your brain. So it's already psychedelic, I'd say. But if on top of that you add, elements from dub and from classic psychedelic rock, which we tried, we did. So that's what we're adding into that. And some people, love it for consuming cannabis, of course. And some people just love it to meditate and to stay home and just to chill because they love it. Some people use it for yoga. And some people, whatever. It's just, but it's not the let's go out and party album. It's the afterwards, when the sun is rising and you're sitting down on the beach or wherever you are, that's the album you put, right?
Definitely. It seems like it's definitely like the summer type theme, where you just kind of want to vibe out and really think to yourself. So actually for our audience, let us know, what is the name of this new album and the message that you hope that they get from it?
Okay, well, the album is called Gaia, Gaia. Gaia, actually, the name comes from Greek mythology that Gaia is like this, this divinity, this character for Mother Earth as a goddess, right? And we just love it at home. Jessica and I, my wife and I, we love it, and we thought of this album, in this way and there was a lot of feminine power in the album, right? Energy in the album, and we definitely wanted to call it Gaia because of that, and because it's a tribute, right, to Mother Earth, and the song Gaia is the song that I'd say is the most urgent, right? Because it's a song that's talking about what's going on, with climate and what the things we do to collaborate, to be part of that problem.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna go to commercial, and when we come back, AK is gonna talk to Jessica Zeltzer.
Yes,
Not
I
Seltzer,
am.
but Zeltzer.
Zeltzer.
All right, guys, we're back on the zoo, and coming up, we have an interview with Jessica Zeltzer. Is that her name?
Yes.
Who is she?
Jessica Zeltzer. So she's an upcoming artist. She's incredible, I think. She has been writing since she was 9, and she's actually written for a couple other artists, but she's finally pushing out her own music. Okay. So I think it's just great to see someone that is doing what they love.
You know what? I want to see her come out with a brand called Zeltzer Seltzer. Seltzer water. By Zeltzer. Too much sugar.
Well, Jessica Zeltzer is an amazing person. She has amazing new music coming out, and she's young. So let's go out and support. Watch the interview right here.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us. My name is AK, and today we are on the zoo. So I wanted to talk a little bit about you because you are a young artist, right? But you also started really young. So can you tell us about that?
Definitely. I've been recording since I was around 11, 12. And that whole thing started because my dad is actually a musician himself. And one day he was going into the studio and, me being a 12-year-old little girl interested in this whole thing, listening to Taylor Swift, I was like, heck yeah, I want to come. And it turned out that the producer needed a female vocal. So when I was in there, I was like, hey, can I jump on the track? And I ended up loving it. And that was when I found out that this is what I want to do.
That's amazing. So you had already practiced your vocal ranges and everything by the time you were 12, when you went into the studio?
Yeah, I actually was a bunch of choirs and choral ensembles since I was a very little girl. I was in an international choral ensemble. I was in my school ensemble. So I was taught, it's actually funny because I was taught classically since I was a very, very little girl. And that's funny because I'm a pop artist.
So just so I don't know, you know, classically trained means like opera singing?
Kind of. So, you know how like when certain so I'm probably going to explain it terribly, but like choirs and opera and with like the vibrato. Do you know what a vibrato is?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the voice, like that type of thing. And then like pop is the, you know, Taylor Swift type of thing. It's like different styles, but being classically trained really allowed me to have like a firm background to carry myself through.
Now, do you also write your own songs or the lyrics to songs?
I do. Sometimes I write with other people, and sometimes I just do the writing myself. It really depends on, you know, the mood I'm in, what I'm going for, if I have an idea coming into it. I'm the type of person that writes lyrics everywhere I am, 24/7. I could be in the car, thing like super random could be like coming in my head, and I'm like, gotta jot it down. So I always have lyrics with me on hand. It just depends on, you know, the vibe of everything, what's coming with it, and if I want to work with other people on it.
Were you writing at a young age?
I was. I actually wrote a song. I don't even remember. I just remember cringing so hard. I was in the bathtub, right? And I like I don't even know how old. I was probably like 9 years old. I was in the bathtub and I started just like coming up with this song. I used to get bullied when I was younger, so I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, that's what it was about. And I remember having this event that I went to. My dad was giving a speech, and I didn't know what the speech was that he was going to give. And in the speech, he was like mentioning lyrics to my song when I was 9 years old, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, you know, like, what do you write about when you're 9 years old, you know? But it was, you know.
It was probably something about butterflies. I think I remember it being something like flying to the sky. Maybe I'll find the lyrics somewhere, but I'm pretty sure it's about butterflies and flying to the sky.
That's really cute. Now, I want to tell you, you kind of remind me of Christina Aguilera a little bit.
I get like so many things. I've gotten like, you sound like Taylor Swift. You look like Taylor Swift. You sound like Ariana Grande. You look like Christina Aguilera. I'm like, who do I look like? Who do I sound like?
You know what? The point is that your voice is popping, so that's all that matters, you know?
I'm me. I'm Jessica Zeltzer. That's who I am.
There you go. Okay, so now let's talk about the latest single that you released, right? It's called Throwback. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So that song is basically about, you know, a relationship, kind of like young love, and how I really wanted a throwback. I wanted to go back to that time of young love, freeness, and that just like really good vibe. I even think I mentioned in the song, like, used to be a James Dean, used to be a Marilyn, you know, like Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, and like all that stuff. When we were thinking about shooting the video, we actually wanted it to resemble The Notebook, which some people say they can catch on to, some can't. And we wanted it to be kind of in like the 1930s type of era, kind of again showing that idea of like looking for a throwback. And something interesting that we were thinking about doing is, even though I want to have a throwback to the 1930s, I wasn't born in the 1930s, but we thought it would be interesting, since the song is about a throwback and since the title is Throwback, to kind of, you know, accentuate that and actually make it like a throwback to the 1900s type of thing.
Yeah, 'cause I know one of the lyrics was like, let's throw it back.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so my interpretation of that was like, oh, you want to go back to the relationship, you know?
Yeah, like it was a mix of that, and I think that's, so yeah, Throwback was, you know, when we wrote the song, it was about throwing it back to the relationship, and, you know, missed that whole young love type of vibe, and how in the song we mentioned used to be a James Dean, used to be a Marilyn. And when I was thinking about the whole idea of, you know, missing the relationship and young love and throwback and all that, we were like, you know, when I was sitting with my director, we were like, how can we make this more interesting? So we figured, well, throwback can mean a lot of different things. You know, even with TikTok nowadays. Throwback means something totally different. And so we were like, how can we take this idea and make it even more interesting to be one of those things where, you know, the song and the music video have the same concept, but they're different in a sense. So we thought, you know, let's take this idea of throwback and turn it into 1900 throwback. So it's actually a throwback in a relationship and a throwback in time.
All right, y'all, we have more interviews coming up, so stay tuned. Up next, we have Gabby Moreno and Camilo Lara from Mexican Institute of Sound. So stay tuned.
All right, so up next you have Gabby Moreno and
Yes.
Camilo Lara from Mexican Institute of Sound. I've seen them live. I've actually had them
So
on
dope.
LatiNation a couple of years ago. What are they up to now?
Dope. So they actually did a song together, and I just want to say, like, they're both they're trailblazers, right? Gabby Moreno is actually the voice of, I think it's Princess of Avalor on
Yes,
Disney,
yes.
the first Latina princess, and Camilo Lara was actually a creative, like, musical director, I think, I don't know the exact term, for Coco. So he's
Yes.
the one that made sure that, like, their whole soundtrack was, like,
That
ethically
soundtrack
attuned
was
and stuff.
incredible.
Yeah.
So just imagine these two people that are like trailing, like, you know, trailblazers out in Disney and for the community. So it was an amazing interview, and they did a song together. It's called Yemayá. So it has roots in, I'm blanking on the religion.
That's Santeria.
Yeah.
Yes?
Or Yaruba?
Yaruba, yes, Yaruba, yes,
Yaruba.
yes.
So check it out.
We are with the super talented Camilo Lara and out of this world voice, Gabby Moreno. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much.
Camilo, I see a cool little background. What do you have going on? Is that your studio?
That's my studio. I'm here. I'm very lucky because my studio is like 30 steps from my house. So I have spent all the quarantine here just doing music.
Awesome. So we can expect good things.
I don't know if good, but some.
Awesome. Okay, well, first I want to start as individual artists, okay? You know, Camilo and Gabby, how would you define yourself as artists?
Do you want to start, Camilo, or you want me to start?
Yeah, I want to start because I want to define Gabby as an artist. I think she's a really unique talent and so beautiful to soul to work with. I've been a big fan of Gabby for a long time. So for me, this is like a happy day. Imagine a dream come true. Just working with such an amazing artist and great friend. You know, it's pretty magic.
Thank you. And the feeling is mutual, of course. Like, I've been a big fan of Camilo's also for a hot minute. I'm gonna say, like, probably since like 2006, 2007, when you put out your first. I think was it an EP or
Probably.
And I just loved everything that you were putting out back then. I remember hearing you on KCRW and just going like, wow, this guy's pretty amazing. And then through mutual friends, meeting here in LA, and then just meeting again in different parts of the world. We were both part of a festival in Denmark called Roskilde, and it was just funny that, you know, we would be in Denmark and like we actually didn't get a chance to meet there, but he was also part of that same festival. And then again, meeting at another festival in Scotland that our friends from Calexico were putting together, and actually there meeting in person and thinking like, okay, now we got to do something, like, please, let's collaborate on something. And finally, when he was here in LA a year and a half ago, we just finally made it happen. I was able to go to the studio and you know, work on this wonderful song.
So I think that's so cool because Camilo, you're from Mexico, and Gabby, you're from Guatemala, right?
Yes.
So Latino America, but you go and you meet in Scotland.
I mean, like I said, we were both just kind of trotting the world and hearing about each other, being in similar parts of the world, but never really getting to meet in person until this time in Scotland.
So, Gabby, for all the, fans out there, how do you keep your voice in condition? Do you practice every day?
I don't. I'm the worst. Don't ask me. All I can say is that I do take care of myself. Like I don't smoke. I don't drink, but I don't drink because I don't like drinking. I never did. I drink a lot of water. I sleep a lot. So I think all of that helps. But I've never been like the party girl. Like I never stay up super late party. I don't. That's just not me. So after I play a show, the first thing that I want to do is just go back to the hotel and sleep. Whereas the rest of my band, they want to just keep going and talking and drinking. I've never been that person. So
you just maintain your voice naturally.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but I'm terrible. I should be taking more care of it by doing vocal warm-ups and all that, but I'm the worst.
So can you do a little acapella for us right now? I'm just kidding.
That's not too bad. If you had asked me 3 hours ago, I would have been like, no.
Okay, well, let's talk about this song that you two collaborated on, right? It's called Yemayá. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I can start by saying that Yemayá is essentially an ode to love, and the title refers to the goddess of water, of abundance, of fertility. In the Yoruba and other Afro-Caribbean cultures, she is sort of like the queen of all of this. She's another thing that I love is that she's a woman of color, and she rises from the ocean. She's ruling with beauty, with grace, with maternal wisdom, and represents protection, and she takes all forms too. So there's a lot of things about this deity that I loved, and it was wonderful to sort of create a song inspired by her and what she represents. All those good things.
Camilo, what was the inspiration for you?
I guess pretty much that the message of love, and I think it was the right moment to do a love song, and like a broad kind of love, not limited to person, but I think the feeling of being in love is fantastic, and I like to think that we need some healing now, and that feeling can heal, and it is important.
We'll be right back on the Zoo with DJ Pod, Osmar Escobar, O plus bro.
Welcome back. Coming up in just a second, a segment with Anakaren and DJ Paul, DJ Plus?
Yeah,
DJ Paul and O plus Escobar.
We had Osmar.
DJ Paul and O plus.
But
go
ahead.
DJ Paul is actually from 3-6 Mafia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then O plus has been doing a lot of reggaetón, he produces songs and stuff. So the song that they brought together is a fusion, as we're talking about fusion, of rap and reggaetón.
That's what I like. Let's check out this amazing interview with DJ Paul of 3-6 Mafia and Osmar Escobar, aka O plus.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with DJ Paul from 3-6 Mafia and O plus. How are you doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
Thank you so much for being on the call. Okay, awesome. Now, I want to get into a little bit of the relationship between you two. How did you even meet?
My artist that signed to me, TY, had a writing session with O Plus at Red Bull Studio in Santa Monica. And he told me to come by. He's like, this guy's really dope, so you might want to come by here and meet him. And then I went by there and met him, and then, we hit it off immediately. We was cool. And then we just started cutting the record, and then it went from there to us getting cool and starting to cut more and more records. So now we're up to 3 or 4 records.
Oh, okay. So you started cutting a record the same day you met?
Yeah, we made this record. We made this record that we made.
Countdown.
Yeah.
That's hectic. So what was it like being in the studio? Like, how did you, because I want to say this, I feel like the styles are a little bit different, you know, like we know DJ Paul, you know, he's OG, he goes way back, goes a little hard. O plus, your music's more reggaeton, you know, like we vibe with it. So how did those two like ambiances come together and merge to form this song?
That's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to, you know, bring the two different worlds together, you know.
Dirty.
And so
Clean.
what we did is we started doing a record that it was more on a pulse vibe. It was more of a trap instrumental.
Ah, okay.
And then the best sounds, which is the producers I work with, my in-house producers were there, and we wanted to, like, you know, somehow how can you say this? Somehow we wanted to, like, incorporate a little bit of our music in, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it came to life, you know? So you have some reggaeton beat on it, but then you have trap music, which is like, crunk music. That's what Paul does. But not only that, but we have the record 50% in Spanish and 50% English. So we kind of nailed it. You know, we really wanted to do it the right way. And there's a lot of people that try to do it. It's just, you know, sometimes it's either a full trap song with Spanish and English artists, or a full reggaeton song with Spanish and English artists, but there hasn't been that, like, middle point, you know? So that's kind of what we wanted to do.
Yeah, we was trying to make a hybrid between, well, we did, not try. We wanted to make a hybrid between, like, my trap and mafia style with the reggaeton. And that's what we did with the guys.
Yeah.
So, DJ Paul, do you know Spanish?
No.
So you didn't understand what O plus was saying?
No, he told me.
Oh, he told you. Okay.
Translate.
Yeah, but no, I'm learning. So I'm starting to learn some stuff here and there. So, you know, we'll get there.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to DJ Paul a little bit. So I feel like we definitely know the distinction. I mean, you know, there was a lot of attention to it between, like, East Coast rap and, like, West Coast rap, and even here, like, you know, the Bay Area versus, like, here SoCal. But when you were first starting, what was that Southern sound, would you say?
Before me or after me?
Both. So, like, how you saw yourself coming into the scene.
So before me, I in the South, we used to listen to, like, Luke Skywalker, you know, but we listened to a lot of people from other places. So, you know, we listened to Bay Area rappers like Too Short, E40, Drew Down, you know, Mac Dre. We listened to a lot of Bay Area rappers. We listened to NWA. We listened to the Ghetto Boys. We listened to Public Enemy and LL Cool J. And I listened to a lot of rock music. So me, I just kind of came up listening to all of that stuff together, and local Memphis artists, the couple that was out. So I started, all that was going through my head, Eric B. and Rakim, all that was going through my head in the process. And that's just kind of how I made up the new sound that took over the whole music industry and the whole world, by just listening to all of these guys and putting it all together as one sound.
And how would you describe that new sound that you were moving forward?
Well, right now you might as well just say it's music, because everybody sound like it.
No, that's what I was gonna say, because it was also a little dark too, you know, and a little different.
Yeah, it was dark. It was different, you know. So, you know, it was dark, horrorcore mixed with not just horrorcore subjects. So it wasn't just about chopping off heads, even though the music would be like on some chopping off heads type. But we would talk about different stuff, like fighting in the club and robbing and doing drugs and stuff like that, but all over these dark melodies and hard-hitting 808s. And now that's the sound of everything out. You know, you even got country music out here that got drum patterns that I made when I was a little kid.
But you were never trying, the goal was never to be mainstream, right?
No, that was the farthest thing from my mind. I was never trying to do that. You know, it just, and we never really got that. I mean, we did a little bit, but we didn't all the way get it. You know what I'm saying? So.
I mean, you're definitely recognizable, though, you know?
Even with this on? Even with this on?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's DJ Paul, by the way. Just kidding. I wanted to thank you then, DJ Paul and O+, for being on today on the show. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was today's show. Anakaren, she did amazing. AP passes AP exam. I give them both A+.
You have to do it again.
I give myself a C+ this time, which is just enough to pass and get my graduation. Great interviews. We talked about UFOs, and we talked about great music fusion, which is what we're trying to do here on the Zoo. Keep it locked. Always keep watching us.
Wholesome.
And keep watching the other shows on LatiTV.